Welcome back to the Flip Side of Death podcast. I'm your host, Lynn Stone. And today I'm going to do something, it's a little project I've been thinking about called the Widow Chronicles. The one really cool thing about my podcast is that as an author, I can talk about the planning and preparation, which I will continue to do, and I'll interview people that are involved in that space. But I can also give you a little insight on what it's like to be a widow and some of the different challenges that we encounter along our journey. I think it's a good thing for you to hear because a lot of times people don't really think about what that means and they don't even consider that as a possibility. They just take things for granted. So I'm going to start off by reading something. So I apologize. My eyes are going to be reading instead of looking at you. But I saw this the other day and I thought, this is really very true. And I don't think people think about this. And, I don't share this stuff with you to get you down in the dumps or, to make things, to be negative Nelly or whatever you want to call it. I share it because I want to enlighten you on the realities of life and what you might have to go through and what you might have to endure like so many other people do. So I'm going to share this story. I don't know if this person wrote it themselves or if they just copied and pasted it, but the person that posted this is Jen Lockhart Grant, and I'm just going to read what she wrote. It says, "One day, one of us will walk through the church parking lot alone. And I know that's not something most people like to think about, but it's true. After church, we were headed to the car like we've done countless times before. Nothing special. Just talking about our experiences at church, making plans for the day, and enjoying a normal Sunday. Then he reached toward my hand and started leading me through the parking lot. And suddenly, I had one of those moments where everything else faded into the background. I thought about it. One day, this won't happen anymore. One day, one of us will be reaching for a hand that isn't there. One day, the voice we hear every day will be silent. One day, we'd give anything for one more ordinary Sunday. One more walk to the car. One more drive home. One more conversation about nothing important. One more hand reaching for ours without a second thought. The truth is, we spend so much of our lives waiting for the big moments that we miss the ones we'll actually miss the most. Not the vacations, not the promotions, not the milestones, but the ordinary moments, the everyday moments, the moments that feel so normal we barely notice them while they're happening. This is the life. This is the season. These are the days we'll someday look back on and wish we could relive. Most people know they'll lose someone they love someday. The tragedy is living like we have forever until someday arrives. So hold their hand, take the picture, put your phone down, say I love you, lean into them again, because one day what feels ordinary today may become the memory you'd give anything to experience one more time. And if you're lucky enough to have someone reaching for your hand today, don't wait until they're gone to realize how beautiful this season really is." So thank you to her for that writing. I'm not sure who she is. I just saw it one day and decided I would save it and talk about it one day later. So here we are. Today is later. And I thought it made an impression on me because it's so true. As a widow, you stop and think about all those times, all those little things, all the memories. And, I can't impress on you enough how important it is to really embrace this time with your loved ones, especially with your spouses and, your kids, because we just don't know when our days are going to end. And so, I know I sound like a broken record and I'm sorry for that, but I'm also not sorry because I wish this is something that someone would have said to me whenever I was enjoying my life with my husband. And, I wish that they would have said, hey, maybe you should take some time and come up with a plan because if something happens, you're going to need it. Or, really cherish those moments with him. And you might say, I do cherish those moments. I know, whatever. But there are other little things that your spouse might do that you just take for granted, things that you don't think about, such as, leaving, or they do things that aggravate the life out of you. And so, I think about what those things were. So anyway, just some thoughts to think about and consider as you're on your journey through this life. But I also wanted to share something that kind of caught my eye that I thought was worth noting. And this is probably not as sweet as the last story I was telling you, but there are some people that are in the public eye that have experienced loss, and people are so quick to pass judgment on them. And so there are some people that I can think of right off the top of my head. And again, this might be just because I'm kind of honed in on it, right? My reticular activation is there. I don't know if you've ever heard of reticular activation. If you haven't, I'll just give you a brief crash course on it. And basically, it is if you want a red car, you want to buy a red car, you're all excited about this red car, this very specific red car, we'll call it a red Mustang. Okay, don't come at me, it's just an example. So you are just fawning over this red Mustang, you have to have it. Everywhere you look, you will see red Mustangs. Like, it is just no joke. Think about this. Anytime you focus on one particular thing, you see it everywhere. You get a brand new car, and all of a sudden you see your car everywhere. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't know there was so many of my car around. They've always been there. You just never saw it. So, okay, so reticular activation. So I'm honing in on widowship, widowhood, whatever you want to call it. And so it just, some of it is kind of in that algorithm, if you will, but some of it's not. Some of it's just in your face. Here it is. Stuff happens. So the things I'm thinking about would be like when Ozzy Osbourne died and his wife Sharon is left. Probably a more controversial one would be Erica Kirk when her husband Charlie was killed last year, the year, I think it was last year. And then the one that I'm really, really thinking about is a Facebook influencer. She might be more of a TikTok influencer, but her name is Lori Conway. And I personally follow Lori. I think she's a fabulous person, and she got started on TikTok, I believe. I think it was TikTok where she got started, but it's Crazy Busy Mama. And so she would teach people how to make food for their families on a budget and whatever. And very cool. And then she started wrapping in her belief systems into it, or maybe she always did, and it just kind of started being drawn out a little bit more, which is fine. And then a couple of years ago, her husband passed away unexpectedly. And so she has been probably one of the most open and transparent people in the public eye that has been talking about their grief journey. And I mean, she has posted pictures of herself crying. She has posted pictures of herself just grieving. And, her kids have been openly talking about this on their social media platforms. And it's just been kind of heartbreaking, really, just kind of watching someone just go through it again. I mean, and I say again because I've been through it. And I'll be honest with you, I still go through it. And it's not as sharp as it was, but it's still there and it's never going to go away. My husband will always be a part of me, always. He's not going anywhere. But as time goes on, as life continues, people come into your life, and I don't think it's coincidence. I don't believe in coincidence. And I think that people are brought into your life for a reason, and some of them are there for a long time. Some of them are there for a short time. It just depends on what lesson they're to bring. And so for Lori, recently she had shared a post of her boyfriend. Now, it's been 2 years since her husband passed away unexpectedly. And so again, very open about her grief journey, very open about her faith journey, just very, very open, very transparent. And of course, people, I'll call them keyboard warriors, people will always have an opinion about something. But for the most part, people were supportive and, I'm sorry to hear this. And then, after the first year, people are like, okay, you're still grieving. What's wrong with you? So newsflash to everyone, just in case you didn't know, grief does not just stop after the 1 year mark. If anything, it probably intensifies a little bit. So just know that for when it's somebody else's turn that you might know. And then, so she's continued, and some of the things that she's done since then is she went out and she got herself a brand new car. Now, this woman works hard. She has certainly earned the right to be able to purchase whatever she wants, but she had gotten herself a new car. And she put it on social media like this, hey, look, I did this thing, and I mean, she was just lambasted. Like, they just killed her in the comments. People were so opinionated and so much outrage because you're grieving, but yet you go out and buy this car. So let me tell you something about this process. The first year of grieving is it's very difficult. They actually, and I actually tell people, don't do anything the first year. Don't make any large purchases. Um, don't commit to doing anything big because you're not in the right frame of mind. So she didn't do that in year one. She did this in year two. Now I will argue that yes, while you're coming out of the fog of the first year, the second year is just as difficult. So it doesn't make it any easier, but there is a little bit more clarity. And again, this woman works hard. She makes her own money. I don't know about their financial situation, but I do know that she's a social media influencer and she's making bank. So if she wants to go out and buy herself a pink car, knock yourself out. But the people in the comments were just atrocious and so opinionated about her journey. Like, how dare you go out and do this? How dare you? Now, of course, you also have the supporters, but the haters is really what I'm focusing on because everyone thinks they know. Everyone thinks they have the best answer for it. So that was the reaction about the car. Well, then a few months later, here comes a picture of the new boyfriend. And good gracious, you would have thought that it was just atrocious. So I bring this up really is just a reminder for everybody. And I'm not saying that this is you, but maybe this is you. Maybe you've been one of those people that has commented and said, I don't understand what you're doing. Why? I thought you were grieving. Why are you doing this? And you know what? If they were married, they fulfilled their vow, right? The vow is till death do us part. Well, he died. She fulfilled her vow to him till death do us part. And she loved him for the rest of his life. And now she's ready to move. It's not that she's ready to move on. There is no moving on. It's just going forward. And you might say, oh, it's the same thing. Not really. It's not really the same thing. In my opinion, moving on means that you're letting something go and continuing forward and just you're just forgetting it. And there's no forgetting. You don't forget. So I just want to make sure that people understand that there's no forgetting and there's no timeline on grief. Now I can say that I'm 11 years out and there are times that something will hit me and it will bring tears to my eyes. It'll be those memories that just come flooding back and it happens. It doesn't mean that I don't love my new life or that I don't love the people in my life or that they're anything less or that he's anything more. Is nothing like that. It's just, this is the grief journey that we are on and people don't understand it and you won't understand it until you're doing it. So I just ask you, if you are not on that grief journey, to be mindful and to be gracious, to extend grace to people who are on the grief journey and to withhold your opinion if you think that they are doing something wrong, because I can assure you they are not. If they are living their life, they are still grieving. Grief is still there. They just choose not to let grief run their life, which is a huge, huge deal. It really is, because there are so many people that I know and so many people that I love that are stuck in their grief. I have a friend that I met, gosh, it was probably 10 years ago. Someone I had met on a dating app, actually. And he and I met, and distance really is kind of what prevented us from doing anything, from like making a real relationship out. But we really forged a very strong friendship. And it was based out of love and widowhood, our connection for that. And so I love this man very much. I mean, he's a very dear friend of mine, and he is still very much stuck in his grief. And his wife died before my husband did. So, I mean, it's been a long time, and he's doing better, but he's still stuck. And, it really hurts my heart for those people that can't move past their grief. To continue to live their life. And, I'm not going to get all religious on you, but I do believe that we're here for a reason. And we are here to fulfill some purpose. There's something still there for our lives. And so I don't know what that is, but I'm still here. And, I still have children to raise and, I still have things to do, life to live. And so, a lot of people can't get to that point. So they're stuck and I'll be honest with you, sometimes someone doesn't have to die for someone to still be stuck. And you might know those people that are still hung up on their exes that, they left them or they did them wrong or whatever, and they just can't let them go. And that person always keeps coming back into the conversation. And I feel bad for those people too. And as I came across that thought actually occurred to me recently. And I kind of look back at some of my past relationships and I thought, that's what it is. They're stuck in their past relationship. They couldn't move forward. They thought they were, but they brought that baggage with them. And people have baggage, but sometimes you can leave the baggage at the door, right? And sometimes you just keep carrying it. And I think that was the situation for some of the people that I'm thinking of in my mind, that they just continued to carry that baggage with them as they try to go through this relationship. And ultimately that was part of the reason why the relationship didn't continue. So I wish them all the best. Of course, I don't wish ill on them. They go live your life, go do your thing. I wish you the happiness. But it is interesting though, because it's like, if you did some work on you and you learn to let go, don't let the bad things take control of your life. I think that would help a lot of people. So the bad things, divorce, death, whatever, those are all very traumatic things. But I think that dealing with them within yourself and letting it sit and giving yourself permission to go forward is a gift that you can give to yourself. And that's a gift that I gave to myself. And it's a gift that Lori has given to herself. And I'm going to tell you, for Lori, she still has a journey to go. She's still very, very early in it. She hasn't even experienced half of it yet. So in that regard, I feel bad for her, because I truly hope that this relationship works out for her. A lot of people were commenting about her family, about the kids, about the look on their faces. Now, kids, adult kids, right? They weren't children, they were adults. But, everyone grieves differently and everyone grieves in their own time. So I encourage you, if you've never experienced death, if you've never experienced the death of a parent, grandparent, spouse, cousin, whatever, if you've never experienced that, then I encourage you to just extend grace and sympathy, because you can't empathize with them if you've not ever experienced the pain of losing somebody. But if you have something negative to say to somebody about the journey that they choose to take, I also encourage you just to keep that to yourself. Just keep scrolling. No one requires you to stop and answer or put a post out there about someone's life, because they're just sharing it on their platform and making money on it, whether you want them to or not. Just let it go. It's just not worth it. But I saw it and I thought, I think some people just don't realize how much pain they cause by sharing unsolicited thoughts or feedback or opinions on things. And so that kind of will segue into this next thought that I was having. And that's whenever people start judging about timelines. And, from a widow's perspective, and I can tell you, because I was the same way. I said I would never remarry. I don't foresee that happening now. That didn't stop me from, eventually getting to a point where I was going to date. But the flack that I got, I really didn't. So here's the thing. No one actually said anything to me, and it could be just because of my very strong personality that no one actually wanted to say it to my face, because they knew that I would fire back. But I know that there are people that had poor opinions about my choices, about how quickly I jumped into another relationship, which, by the way, was probably about 6 months when I started looking for companionship. Because that's one of the things, once you start coming out of the fog, you miss your person, you miss that physical interaction. And so I found that I was wanting that physical interaction. And that's what I was seeking. I was craving that connection with somebody, that companionship. And so that's what started it. But I do remember someone saying to me, like, don't you think gosh, that wasn't really that long, that was a few months ago. It's like, it was, but I deserve to be happy. I deserve to be able to have a companion in my life to go to do the rest of my life with, because I was in my early 30s, for goodness sake. I some people are that same age and they act like they have one foot in the grave, like they're ready to go too. And sometimes whenever you lose your person right away, that's how it feels. Like you would just rather just die too. But I had obligations. I had my daughter to raise. I had my stepkids to continue to stay involved with. I had life that I had to continue. So um, just know that just because it doesn't necessarily fit your time frame doesn't mean that it's wrong. And I think that's something that most people, like, oh well, they went into that so fast, or she got married so fast, or whatever. And it's like, why do you care? It's not your life. It doesn't affect you. Now, if it does affect you, then that's a different story and a different conversation. But I thought it was very interesting. There was a statistic, and I think I might have even talked about it before, but men tend to get remarried within the first year, like at a 60% rate. 60% of men who are widowed, so their wives pass away, within a year get remarried. 60%. But women, we just keep going. Keep going for the long haul. And I'm not quite sure why that is. I mean, there's some theories on that, but I mean, that's a pretty well known statistic. And I've actually seen it play out in real life. I actually know someone that had happened to. And so, but it's interesting because I don't know that the men get judged nearly as harshly as women do. So just know that, your opinion of someone else's choices, while that you're entitled to your opinion, everyone is, doesn't mean that it's right. And I think that sometimes things are better left unsaid. You can think them, but you don't have to say them, because most times whoever the person is that you're thinking about, that you think they've done something wrong or bad or whatever, they don't care. They don't care what you think about it. They don't care what you think of what you think about them. I mean, sometimes they do. It depends on who you are in relation to them, but you know, sometimes it's just better not to share that opinion. So, anyway, the Widow Chronicles, just a little bit of real talk about the widow life, the widow journey, and some of the things that we encounter. So, that is the flip side of death. Things that you don't even think about. Of course, your loved one is dead, and if you're still here, you're left to deal with the repercussions of that. So, just some insight into that world. So, if you know someone who's in that journey, give them some grace, give them some love, let them know that you support them. If you genuinely do, don't give them lip service. Lip service is the last thing that they need. So, with that, as you all know, death is inevitable, chaos is optional. I'll see you next time here on the Flip Side of Death podcast.